But I'm really excited to hear Rolf's insights and his experiential understanding of the shadow and how we can basically take what is unconscious and make it conscious. So please make welcome Rolf Krahnert.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good. Are you all awake after that wonderful session? Are you up for a little bit of work?
Yes.
Good. I'm still half asleep. So I'm going through a little bit of an introduction, show you some slides, and then maybe 20-25 minutes we go through an experiential session, how I guide people through what I call shadow work. Yeah? And at the end, if we've got some time, maybe a few questions, one or two. But we'll see how we go for time. So I came to Australia about when I was 35, and it's 30 years ago now. That makes me, what, 45 or something? I'm not good at math. And the last 12 years I've been down the rabbit hole of, the common law movement, the strawman concept, the free man movement. And what I found out was the key question here as well is getting to know myself spiritually. I need to know who I am in the world. So I came to understand that I'm not a person. So when I'm not a person, who am I? I'm not a consumer. If I'm not a consumer, who am I? So I came to realize and learn how to live in the private, which is very important to get out of this craziness out there. What I am is a living man with sovereign integrity. So that's what I called being awake externally or in the world. Know who you are, what role you play in the world. Because everything the so-called government or I don't know what they're really, they're all presentments, they're all offers. And we have the power to decline and say, no, thank you. I don't want to contract with you. And we can do that as sovereign, living men and women. We don't have to follow their advice. They can only offer us a contract. Presentment. We can say, no thanks, but thanks. And what I've noticed in the so-called truth or freeman movement, that most of them, they know who they are in the world, they know what's going on, but they're still confrontational. They're still projecting, they're arguing, they're throwing each other under the bus. And I thought, gee, there's something missing. The term being fully awake that doesn't really fit there, because 1995 I went on what you call a spiritual journey, a non-dual self-inquiry path, finding out who I am, if I really share the limits and destiny of the body. And then what Anthony yesterday said, the main question here is to ask yourself and go into that self-inquiry, who am I? Am I really a body? Am I my thoughts, my feelings, my perceptions? Who am I? And we can't really explain that with concepts and thought. It's a mystery. So, and then I listened to really well-known spiritual teachers out there the last 3 years. And I listened to their talks and I realized that some of them, they're really endorsing what was happening out there. They're endorsing it, supporting it, this whole narrative. And I thought, there's something, am I missing something? That can't be true, that can't be right. So for me, it became clear to know myself, who I am in the world as well as in here. I think those two things go together. I think it's very important to go through the shift, to navigate these times of change, both ways. And for me, it's a path of peace. I don't want to be confrontational. If I know who I am, I stand my ground and anything can happen. Yeah? Okay, let's go through some slides. Done that. So, when we talk about shadows, we need to be clear what we're talking about. What are shadows? And you probably heard of Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud. They talked about the subconscious, the suppressed stuff. And what I would call shadows is every time you're not at peace, every time you feel upset, you're in shadow territory. And fear is in the driver's seat. Does it make sense? So it's fear-based. By the way, there's nothing wrong with shadows. I call them actually a pull of grace or a little kick in the butt. Hey, pay attention. Look over here. You're not at peace. But being at peace and being at peace is our natural state. So shadows you can also call, or I call them also, unconscious habitual response patterns. Most people I observe, they're on autopilot. Something is happening, they get triggered, they don't even realize it, and boom, 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 one thing after the other. Argument. Does it bring us peace? No. Can we move forward that way? I don't think so. There are also fear-based resistance patterns. It's one of the major key points in shadows. It's resisting what is, or what has been, or what might be, the past or the future. And they're mostly accompanied by emotional responses like shame, guilt, regret, or even past. Those emotions that point towards the past. Worry, anxiety, expectations, attachment to outcomes, they're pointing towards a possible future. So, from my point of view, the only way out is in. The only way out of suffering and misery is go within. That's where we find the answers. And we all have access to it. And the best way, the best service you can render to humanity is to recognize the true nature of your being. So the key to a fulfilled and happy and successful life can only be found within yourself, your real self. I'm not talking about concepts or beliefs. It's beyond the mind. But we have access to it. We can't really explain it because that's deep inner work. So, and what is shadow work? Well, the way I describe it is synonymous to self-inquiry. This who am I question. Yeah? It's a work of curiosity. When you're ready, you're ready. When you're curious, you will look, you pay attention. It's looking, sensing, feeling. It's a work of love, actually. A work of love for yourself and for life and for others. Shadow work is also liberation. You can liberate yourself from identifying yourself as a seeming separate suffering self. We call it trance-ending. Ending the trance of living in habitual response patterns. And it's the end of resistance. We can practice to release resistance, and also the end of seeking. Because it seems like that we constantly resist what is present already, because what is already there, so why would you resist it? There's no point to it. It's already there. And then saying, I don't want this, I want what's over there, because that's better. Once I get there, I'll be happy. That sets us up to misery or suffering. But it's apparently the way we're growing. Doesn't have to be that way, but it's the way it is. And with shadow work, there's nothing to get rid of, nothing to achieve really. It's just looking, paying attention, be mindful. It's an ongoing process actually. It's a moment-to-moment process, paying acutely attention to triggers and realizing that when and if you're not at peace. That's all, that's shadow work. You don't need to learn it, anyone can do it. So there's a shift in perception. You perceive the world and others differently. And there's a shift in identity, what I said before. I'm not a person, I'm not my body. I can say that intellectually, and I have that for a very long time, I understood it intellectually, but the deeper journey is to feel it, be it, show up in life as that. Doesn't work all the time, I tell you, especially the last 3 years what was happening. I had a lot of triggers were just shaking my head. I even had sore shoulders from just shaking my head. And I can't believe what's happening out there. I just and I felt it, you know, I felt, oh, if I only, but there's nothing I can do in that sense. I just learn to stay in the moment, observe what's happening. Of course, the mind takes me then on a journey, or how can I pass through this or connect with others. But I had to sit on my own and just process it on my own and come to peace with what is out there. And I knew and I trusted life that everything that was happening is for a reason. I don't know what it was, I don't know what it is, and I still don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. But life shows up the way it shows up because it wants to show up that way. Who am I to tell life that it's not right? We don't want this. So, and what does integration really mean? Well, for me it is growing up, waking up, and then showing up. Growing up includes stages of consciousness, like we go through stages, like a child grows up from a little toddler, young child, teenager, and so forth. And we as humans, or as humanity at large as well, we go through developmental stages. And I borrowed here some terms from spiral dynamics and Ken Wilber. He calls it moving from egocentric, which is all about me, to ethnocentric. It's about us, my tribe, my football team against yours. And then growing up to world-centric, well, no, it's really all of us. To eventually cosmocentric, it's all of life. So it's the ability or capacity to see reality from the next higher level of consciousness. That's the way we grow up in, call it human consciousness. Consciousness itself has not stages. Consciousness is. It is whole, it's complete, that's nothing to do with consciousness itself. It's the way we see consciousness and experience our sense of consciousness. So it is a more inclusive realization with every step, and seeing and sensing life through a wider lens. And then waking up, that includes states of consciousness. We're all familiar with the waking state, the dream state, dreamless deep sleep, causal states, and non-dual states of consciousness. But we are mostly aware of the waking state and the dream state. So, and here, if we learn to soften our lens of perception and getting out of this, just focusing, I don't want this, I want that. It's a very narrow slit of awareness or consciousness. If we widen that, or allow it to widen itself, then we can become more aware and can learn to connect with this timeless presence that we really are. So, and then showing up where we are evolved high enough, let's say they call it second and third tiers of consciousness, plus we have access to, let's say, it's hard to explain, stages beyond the dream sleep, deep sleep. Or we have lucid dreaming or something where we get downloads. So then that leads to showing up as that. Well, it's hard to explain. And what's the purpose of shadow work? It's raising our awareness about our core beliefs that are running and even ruining our lives. It's cultivating a vibrant awareness of our true nature, of our true being, our innate wholeness and worthiness. It's shifting from identifying oneself as a separate body-mind towards knowing oneself, deeply knowing oneself as transparent, unlimited, ever-present awareness. And it's about practicing the release of resistance. We need to learn to own our projections. It's never ever about anything on the outside. It's always our own projection. And of course in Miracles it says, projection makes perception. And I have also identified 3 main collective shadow aspects in core beliefs, core beliefs that are the root cause for triggers and upsets. And we practice with them in a moment. The first one is victimhood, the next one is separation, and the other one is forgetting. I came up with that, I don't know, a year ago, 4 o'clock in the morning while I was lucid dreaming. I had this clearly laid out, and over the last year I sort of worked with it and put it all together. So from victimhood to freedom, we need to shine the light of awareness on the shadow of victimhood, the collective shadow of victimhood. And we're all familiar with it. And it's the belief in powerlessness. I'm a powerless little victim of circumstances, of the government, of whoever, the cabal, whatever you know it. It's them. So we project it usually in the form of blaming and complaining. Are we familiar with blaming and complaining? From separation to oneness, or a sense of oneness, shining the light of awareness on the shadow of separation. That's probably the biggest one. It's the belief in fragmentation. We believe we enter this world, this pre-existing universe, as a little tiny fragment, and inherent in that feeling of fragmentation is a sense of lack and inadequacy. I don't have enough, not enough time, not enough friends, not enough recognition, not enough money. It's never enough. And it's constantly reinforced in the society, right? There's not enough. And inadequacy, you're not good enough. The way you are right now, it's not okay. Go to do more courses. Once you've done your course XYZ, then we talk about it again. No, it's just a misperception. It's not true. And we usually project that in the form of resisting and seeking. I resist what is. The way I am now, it's not okay. I want to be that one over there. From forgetting who I am, to waking up to who I am, shining the light of awareness on our shadow of forgetting, based on the belief in materialism. Well, this whole scientific world of those based on materialism. Matter comes first, and out of matter, we don't know how, they say, the hard matter of consciousness, out of matter then arises consciousness. It's upside down. Consciousness is a primary factor, not matter. Matter doesn't even exist. They're still looking for it. and they will never find it. So we believe that life starts with the birth of this body, and life ends with the death of this body. And we identify with that, so we're very limited. The body needs comfort and security, therefore anything that threatens the comfort and security of the body, we protect it, or we defend, or even attack it. That's our projection. So, we go through a bit of a practice session now. We start with taking a few deep breaths. I'll take you through some contemplative questions. You can close your eyes if you want, make yourself comfortable. Try to drop out of your mind. Allow yourself to become still. What might arise is memories, images, ideas, impulses, feelings, belief. Let it all show itself. It's okay. Anything, okay? Don't judge what comes up. Let emerge what wants to emerge, and let it unfold in its own time. So we contemplate one question at a time. I'll give you enough time to really sit with it. Stay open, relaxed, but also notice when it gets a little bit too difficult. It's okay too, to sit with it. And also notice when there's resistance. Also sit with the resistance. It's okay to feel not okay. Yeah? So I talked about the projection of blaming and complaining, resisting, seeking, attacking and defending. For the purpose of this exercise, just pick one of your triggers. Pick one. Could be something different. Something you might have experienced today, something that happened last week, last month, last year, it doesn't matter, anything. And by now something would have come up already. Just take that as an example. Yeah? We work with that. And then we go through 5 steps, but I'll take you through that. So, you all got your trigger, your example on the forefront of your mind. Let's take a deep breath together. And another one. So the first step is we acknowledge what just came up. Or in any situation in your life when you are not at peace, when you feel triggered, you acknowledge that. And that is the first step in disrupting any reactive patterns. It's about recognizing that you are triggered, that you're not at peace, that you're not feeling okay, that you're feeling upset. So through pausing and mindfulness, we create a seeming distance between what shows up and a possible response, or no response. We simply look and acknowledge, not judging or even feeling bad about yourself for what happened, the way you reacted possibly. Just sit with it, just be with it. Breathe and observe. Allow and accept. It is what is. What is present is present. What is here is here. There's no blaming, no complaining, no resisting what wants to show up, not seeking something different, not defending anything. So now we go a little bit deeper. We uncover. We pay closer attention now. We want to become really aware of what happened. Thoughts, the feelings, sensations, the perceptions. We want to see clearly and sense clearly. Right here, right now. Pay attention what you might have seen, heard, or felt. No stories. Don't try to explain anything. No excuses. Just realize there was something that you have seen, heard, or felt that has triggered within you the experience of being upset or something else. Then we pay attention to your thoughts and perhaps images you hold in your mind. What were your thoughts? Any pictures that might come up connected to your experience you picked before? And then realizing that it is about your beliefs that try to interpret your experience. Your sense of right or wrong. Your reactions. Perhaps guilt, shame. The worries that might be attached to your experience, or anxieties. Did you have any expectations, or were you attached to any outcomes? So we had a look at the world, look at your perceptions. Now we had a look at your mind, your thoughts. Now we focus on your body, the sensations and feeling that came with your experience. You must have felt something. Because if it was only a thought, only a story, then it's not really deep, then it's not real in a sense. So pay closely attention to sensations or feelings. And they go together, feeling upset, you might feel a knot in your stomach or something. Knot in your stomach is the sensation. And feeling upset is the feeling. What are you sensing and feeling right now? Keeping your experience in your mind. Does it sound familiar even? Do you have those feelings and sensations once in a while? Is there more to it? Is there something else in the body that shows up? Are there different feelings and sensations? Feel into it. Be and accept. If it gets a little bit too strong, just take a deep breath. It's okay to feel strong emotions and feelings. No conclusions or interpretations. Just feel it. Just be with whatever is right now. When did this even first arise in your body? Can you remember when you felt this way first? Can you fully accept your triggers, even if they are uncomfortable? If you say yes, it's okay. If you say no, that's okay too. Just sit with it. So take a deep breath again. Now we go into the next step. I call that realizing. Now we want to look for the I that is upset. Now the trick here is without referring to thoughts. Look for the I that is upset. Who is this I, this me, that is upset? Can you find it? Can you point towards it? Or is feeling upset or being upset just another thought that says, I don't like it? Could it be? Is it possible? And then ask yourself, am I aware? Well, the answer is obvious. Yes, of course you're aware. Ask yourself, am I present? The answer is obvious. Of course you're present. You're here and you know your experience. Now let's investigate if thoughts, sensations, feelings and perceptions, if they come and go or if they're always the same. Of course, they always change. They always come and go. Every moment there are different thoughts, images, perceptions. And what is aware? What is aware of your thoughts, your images, your sensations, your feelings and perceptions? What is that? Well, it is that which knows your experience. We usually call it I or me. We usually point towards the body, but it's not really correct. Is that I, that knowing presence, is that changing? Do you see that coming and going? Well, the answer is obvious too. You never see yourself, that I, that sense of I, ever changing. It's the same sense of I when you were a little girl or a little boy. It's the same knowing presence. Nothing has changed. So what is the true nature of that which knows? Is that even in time? Or in space? So the next step is what I called forgiving. Now we try to forgive ourselves because we have forgotten that which knows or is aware of experience. We have forgotten that we are that, really. We are not our thoughts. We are not our sensations. We are not our perceptions. We are not our feelings. We are that knows those experiences. And that does never change. And we forgive ourselves for getting lost and entangled in thought and entangled in experience and identifying with thought Let's forgive ourselves. That's the nature of thought. So we forgive our interpretations of our experiences. There are 3 powerful lessons in A Course in Miracles. The first one, it says, I'm never upset for the reason I think. So you're never upset for something that happens out there. You're always upset for your own interpretations, and you've forgotten who you are. There's another lesson. It says, I have given everything I see or perceive or think or feel all the meaning it has for me. No one has given you the meaning. You have given every time the meaning that any experience has for you. You can't change that. You just have to get out of those automated, habitual response or reaction patterns. And there's another one. It says, there are no small upsets. They are all equally disturbing my peace of mind. So it doesn't matter if it's a little upset or a really big one. They're all equally disturbing your sense of peace. And it's the realization that all I really am is unlimited, ever-present awareness. And forgiveness is for forgetting that. That I am, forgetting the I am. And no one, or anyone, what they do and say can change the truth about you. How do you feel now? The last step is what I call cultivating. We can learn and be open to cultivate a sense of gratitude for triggers and upsets. Because I call them the pull of grace, or the little kick in the butt. To be mindful, to be attention, to stop the resistance. It doesn't mean we don't respond or react or don't do anything anymore. It just means we are more consciously responding to triggers and events. Because triggers present you and me and us with another opportunity to practice the release of resistance. Sometimes resisting is okay too. And to wake up from the identification with the separate self. I hear all the time, we are one. Yes, we are one. Not in the body, not in the physical form, obviously. But we are one in being, in presence. We share our being. There's our oneness. And the realization that happiness or deep inner peace comes only with the release of resistance to what already is, because there's really no point to resist what already is. It's futile, really. And ending seeking, ending wanting what is not. It doesn't mean we don't set any goals anymore, we're not practical anymore. It doesn't mean that. But we develop a deeper sense of trust in life, of who we are and how life is unfolding through us. Consciousness is from moment to moment, spontaneously manifesting and crystallizing itself in form, and that is what you are. That is our purpose. And to realize that and come back to our true nature, realize who we truly are. I'm not a person. I'm not the body and the mind. And that then for me means showing up in the world as that. That's my purpose. So if you want, take a deep breath. Come back to this next moment. We finish with 2 more slides. Just a quick summary. So next time you feel triggered, whenever there's resistance to a perception, a feeling or sensation, remember it's a thought. It's really another thought that basically says, I don't like what is. And look for the I that doesn't like what is. You won't find it. Because that I is just another thought. It's concepts, beliefs, identifications, ideas, roles we play, but that's not it. We're not our roles, we're not our identification. If someone asks me, who are you? Well, my name is Rolf. But I'm not a husband or a father or this. No, I am a living man. I'm unlimited, ever-present awareness. It's not always practical to answer that question that way, but deep down I know. So, in short, every time someone says to me, I am upset, I said, okay, ask yourself the question, is that really who you are? No. Okay. Well, pause after the I am, because that's a true statement. I am. I, presence, am, presence, and that presence knows. What does it know? The content of the experience. So I am. I'm aware of an experience that arises in my consciousness, that is known by consciousness, and is made of consciousness. That's all there is. I label that experience at the moment upset. That's okay. We can, for practical purposes, we label those things, those experiences in order to communicate. That's fine. But deep down, then also you can ask your question, is the content of my experience changing? Yes, of course, it's changing all the time. And every time an experience or thought changes or goes away, does a little bit of you go with it, disappears with it every time? No, it doesn't. Awareness is never changing. Your true essence is never changing. It's always here, pristine, clear, whole, holy, healed. So that which changes is not what I am, you can say, when you're triggered. That which never changes is what I am. And be that knowingly. That way we are all responsible. We become able to respond rather than react. And you could say to yourself, you're upset next time, I could see peace instead of this. So, happy practicing. Thank you for listening. Hope that was helpful. You got some insights, and you can practice with your triggers.